What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the Mayo Media Network. You're watching Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Chris Meaney. Thanks, as always, for taking the time to hang out. We only have a handful of days left in the regular season here in the NHL, so it is exciting times. Teams fighting for the playoff lives, teams just solidifying their spot in the playoffs as well. We have 9 games on the ice tonight. A great guest, Rob Reese from the NHL Network. He is the fantasy editor at NHL.com and, of course, the co-host of NHL Fantasy Ice. We are big fans of NHL Fantasy Ice on this show, so it's a pleasure to have Rob here. We're going to break down all the 9 games, talk about them from a DFS standpoint, some picks, some props, talk about some playoff hockey as well, because, yes, just right around the corner. So if you are new to this show, please rate, review, subscribe, smash that like button, as Pat Mayo likes to say. If you have a question, maybe you're just a couple days away from winning that fantasy hockey championship. We want to see those trophies get raised. So if you have a question, please leave it there in the YouTube section, or you can hit me up at Chris Meaney. I'll circle back before puck drop and take care of those questions. It could be a betting or a prop question as well. It could be a question for Rob. You may have one for him. All right, but it is time for the Prize Picks play of the day. I was actually struggling here today. There's a few that I like, but I had to go back to the usual suspects here in Tyler Toffoli. I was joking with Matty Best behind the mic here, producing the show for us here today, that I hadn't taken Tyler Toffoli in a long time. Well, he's sitting there at 4.1. He was at 4.5, 4.6 for the longest time. And that's where I kind of faded him. But 4.1 against the Sens. And then Mikko Rantanen, 4.5. These guys have just been so good to us this season. Why not? You got Toffoli, 4th in the league in goals, 28 goals, a career high 18.5 shooting percentage. Maybe we fade him next year in season-long drafts. But as of now, this guy's got 7 goals in his last 8 games, 5 points over a current 3-game run. 4 goals and 5 points in his last 5 games against the Senators. The Sens have been playing really good hockey lately, but they're still giving up a lot of high danger chances, a lot of scoring chances at 5 and 5 per 60 minutes over the last 5 weeks, inside the top 10 in those ranks. And Suzuki and Toffoli just have it going on right now. And then Mikko Rantanen, 29 goals. So the third most in the season, 6 goals over a 5-game goal streak, 9 points over, or actually, check this, 16 points over a 9-game point streak. 16 points, got 5 multi-point games in a row, Mikko Rantanen. He missed a couple days. He was on the COVID list. He came back 3 games since returning to the lineup, all 3 games against the Sharks, 3 goals and 7 points. He gets the Sharks tonight. Talk about giving up high-danger chances. San Jose ranks inside the top 3 over the last 6 weeks in high danger chances allowed, scoring chances allowed, and shot attempts allowed. Good spots for Rantanen, the over 4.5, and Toffoli over 4.1. If you want another, it's Braden Point over 3.1 against the Dallas Stars tonight. Check out prizepicks.com. The link inside the description of this video. You'll find the promo code there as well. All right, let's bring in Rob Reese at NHL Reese, fantasy editor, NHL.com, and the co-host of NHL Fantasy on Ice. Happy Wednesday, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Happy Wednesday to you. We got some good playoff races. We've got some drama carrying over tonight too. So it should be a great Wednesday night slate.
Yeah, dude, we do have some drama. There's no question. So Monday, the Rangers and the Capitals, there was certainly, I'm sure everybody is aware of it now, a big scrum towards the end. You had Wilson there, Tom Wilson with the sucker punch on Pavel Buchnevich when he was on the ice, on the ground. Then Artemi Panarin jumps on Wilson and tries to stick up for his teammate. And, Wilson kind of just threw him around like a rag doll with no helmet. And now Panarin is not going to play for the rest of the season. And Wilson got himself a massive, quote unquote, fine. That's it. I believe he's been suspended, Rob, 5 times in the NHL. So I was expecting actually another suspension for him, and there was none. The Rangers came out with a release basically calling out George Peros, who is head of player safety development and the department there, basically saying, and like paraphrasing here, that he was unfit for the lead role and that the Rangers were disappointed that Wilson wasn't suspended. So these two teams added again tonight. The Rangers plus 110 at home, 34-19. The total here is 6, minus 129 for the Capitals. Before maybe we get into the game, what did you think of just the fine? What did you think of the Rangers statement on Twitter? Like, that was a bomb kind of dropped from an original 6 teams saying, listen, we've had enough of it and something needs to be done.
It's interesting, Chris. I mean, you certainly hope that first and foremost, everyone's safety is key, no matter what you you ever want to see a guy injured on the ice. So it's tough for Panarin, no question about it. I think for Wilson, obviously the player you mentioned, he's been suspended multiple times before. The track record does indicate there that he may toe the line, to say it conservatively. So, right away, I think it draws eyeballs. But, Wilson's a good hockey player too. And if he can just clean up his game a little bit and stay between the lines, I think you're going to see, a player that can really have a great NHL career without being in the headlines. So, Rangers did say something. They expressed how they felt about it. But obviously Paros calls the shots, and hopefully those two sides can communicate, their standing on the position and see what happens here. Now, in terms of the game tonight, Chris, I think you could take the angle from the Rangers and say, wow, we're really going to rally around this and get up for the occasion. But I would push back a little bit on that and say the Caps here are probably the safer bet, just because they have this funny thing where guys are out of the lineup and they always rise to the occasion. I would zero in on Nicholas Backstrom in DFS contests. Look at Yevgeny Kuznetsov. He's in the COVID-19 protocol, I believe, for the second time this season. So keep an eye on that one. Rumblings at the, front office might be a little disgruntled with some off-ice issues with that player. So I think this is a nice opportunity where you can get a decent value price on a guy like Backstrom in the $6,000 range, and he can really get you some value in DFS.
Yeah, I like that call. The Rangers have taken 4 of the 7 in this series, but there's been a lot of goals. Like Washington has played to the over in 14 of their last 19 games. The Rangers have lost 3 straight games. They've been outscored 13-3. So they were on a bit of a run, Rob. They were trying to make a push for the playoffs, and they're eliminated. So those 4 teams in the East, you got Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston, and the Islanders. They seem to just jump each other every other day. Pittsburgh up at the top, 73 points, but Washington just 2 back and 2 games in hand. Yeah, this is a game I think you need to keep an eye on from just like who's going to play. Ovechkin returned the other day, had 39 seconds. He's doubtful to play in this game. We know Panarin is not going to play. Kreider didn't suit up the other day. Oshie didn't play. Kuznetsov's on the COVID list, which you alluded to. So there's a lot of just maybe moving parts, interesting parts in this game. Capo, like he's been playing a little bit better lately. There is some value here when it comes to the Rangers. I believe, just taking a double check here. Yeah, like Capo Caco is 2.6 here. It's a decent little value play. Matt, do you think that this game certainly is going to be spirited as we bring in Matty Best? Like there's, you mentioned John Scott in the video. I mean, he posted some video and how he was disappointed, but he also said in the video that he was all for what Wilson was doing. So he's kind of like contradicting himself a little bit, but I agree with a lot of what Rob said. Tom Wilson's a pretty good hockey player. Like he scores goals. The Capitals give him an A on the jersey when Ovi doesn't play. He sticks up for his teammates, crosses the line here and there for sure. There's no question. But the guy can actually play. And it kind of reminds me of Brad Marchand a few years ago when I was just asking for this guy to play hockey. And it turned out he was one of the better players in the league when he stopped with most of the cheapness. I was pretty surprised, Matt, that he wasn't suspended. And I think the Rangers are going to try to do what they can to kind of, go after him tonight. This game could get ugly.
I definitely think the game could get ugly. I think Wilson is a great hockey player and one of the best prototypical power forwards in the game. The only problem with Wilson is he doesn't have an off switch or any self-awareness once he gets into the tough and rumble spots. Because you look at Artemi Panarin, and this is honestly like if I were to go up and beat up a toddler, because I am that much bigger than a toddler, and Tom Wilson is that much bigger than Artemi Panarin. And there has to be some sort of code there where dude doesn't have a helmet on, maybe I shouldn't grab him and throw him around kind of thing. If Wilson takes all of this out of his game, and I know we were talking about it earlier, the guy has a chance to be one of the best players for the Washington Capitals. I do think, however, that a lot of the money is going to go on the Rangers tonight because it'll feel like the cute comeback play. But this Rangers team without Artemi Panarin in the lineup is a shell of itself. They look completely discombobulated without him in the lineup. You saw what happened when Putin went and did all that stuff with Panarin earlier in the season. I firmly think that if that whole debacle never happened with Panarin and Putin, that the Rangers would be a playoff team. I think they're that good with him in the lineup. I just don't see a way in which the Rangers win this game. Like Rob was saying, these Capitals just rise up to the occasion when they are missing pieces, and all the plays he put out were plays that I was going to give out. So kudos to Rob, so I don't have to talk any longer. Thank you.
That's why we got the man on the show. He knows what he's talking about, people. Wilson, there's no question that he does have a little bit of game. I think this could be spirited. I don't know what Rangers will come out and try to fight him. I'm not sure how that goes. But I think maybe they would be a playoff team. They'd be close. I mean, they're sitting here plus 25 goal differential. I mean, that's better than Montreal, Winnipeg, Nashville, Dallas, teams that are going to be in the playoffs. At least 3 of those 4 teams are going to be in the playoffs. So they got a tough draw, certainly, with the division. Mika Zibanejad is 2.5 shots over at William Hill. That's one that I like. He's plus money, and actually he's 3.5 in some spots. But if you can find 2.5, maybe just get it inside your parlays. I would expect a lot of ice time from him tonight, and he has been really good. Rob, I mean, I know this is something that you guys talked about with Mika Zibanejad throughout the season, like the slow start. Where was this guy? I think he had 2 goals in the first half of the season, one of them in the empty net. And then you just look, and he's got 22 goals and 48 points in 53 games. It's like, how? How did that happen? Heck of a run he's been on.
It's incredible. And I would recommend, you could take him as a center in this game too. You mentioned how high scoring these games could possibly be. I think you're going to see that tonight. One major storyline here for the Capitals too is who's going to be their goaltender at the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vitek Vanacek, if he's confirmed to start tonight, he needs to play and win that starting job. So look for that to be a storyline too. That being said, he's prone to letting in goals, and Mika Zibanejad scored the other night. So I think Mika Zibanejad is a good play. If you like shot props, he's always a safe player to put in for that too. Now, the thing I want to see here from the Rangers, though, is Lafreniere and Kakko. They connected on a beautiful goal Monday night against the same Washington Capitals. I want to see who gets the elevated ice time now with Panarin out of the lineup. And I want to see one of those players rise to the occasion. I still think the power play for New York can be lethal if called upon tonight. I just would not touch this team from a betting lens. They were one of my favorite bets in early April when they were playing better hockey, but consistently let us down when the games mattered. Now they've got nothing to play for. Their star players out of the lineup. I think the Caps want that 1 seed, and I think they'll get back in there tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. I think we could see some goals, though, like, with even all those guys out of the lineup. Yeah, Lafreniere 3.9 on DK and Kakko 2.6. I think both of those guys are going to see certainly a boost in ice time. Okay, let's change gears here to maybe a less exciting matchup this evening, although these 2 teams played on Monday, and it was entertaining in the third period. We have Columbus at home plus 148, Nashville minus 175. So the Preds have won 6 of 7 in this series. The 4-3 overtime win on Monday. I believe they were up 3-0. They gave it away and then came back and got that game in overtime. So back-to-back overtime wins. The Preds have a league high 18 wins since March 15th, tied with Pittsburgh, Colorado, and Vegas, but good company. As for the Blue Jackets, they've lost 18 of their last 21 games, a league worst 5 wins since March 15th, 1.65 goals against per 60, or goals against per 60 for Columbus. And they can't score, Rob. Like, this is a team that giving up some goals and not scoring. And you got Nashville here, 1.65 goals against per 60 since March 15th. That is the best mark in the league. So I think the Preds keep rolling, but as we said on Monday, and I mean, you would have been right if you bet the Preds on Monday, it's tough to pick Nashville at this price, almost minus 200. I'm not a huge believer in this Nashville team, but man, UC Saros has been really good. The Preds have actually played to the over in 4 of their past 7. I want to get your thoughts on Patrick Laine. Rob, what a disappointment that trade has been so far. And what do you think about Nashville in the playoffs if they can make it? Do you think that they can make some noise, or is this just like one and done?
I don't know about you guys, but Nashville is just a team that I don't love to bet. I mean, I can't take them on the puck line because they don't score goals. Their offense is so anemic that I think that's out of the question, out of consideration even. And then the price on the money line, it's just not good enough. I don't want to touch that. Minus 175 I'm seeing on some sites. I wouldn't bet that. Even against Columbus, I know, they're not playing well, but that's a good spoiler team right there, coached by John Tortorella, that seems to always be in 1-goal hockey games heading into the third period. I don't feel like sweating that out if it's the Nashville Predators relying on a goal scorer in the third period. I don't really think they have one. But If they get to the playoffs, Chris, I think that's where the guy Saros can really elevate his game even further. He's playing at a 928 save percentage right now. How much higher can he go? He might be able to get up to a 935, but then you'd have to consider they're either playing Carolina or Tampa Bay, and maybe Florida. I just can't see any one of those matchups going anywhere for that Predators team. There's no scenario, no matter what happens, even if Ryan Johansson finds his game, that I would see that being at all interesting to watch.
Yeah, Matt, you're the Preds guy, the Preds insider here. Matt Duchene didn't play in the final 8 or 9 minutes of that game in the third period. So this is frustrating times for Matt Duchene. And something that you've said all year is that, yeah, this team can beat up on the bottom part of the division, but they struggle with some of the good teams inside the division, and that's who they're going to play.
Yeah, you just look at teams like Carolina and Tampa Bay and Florida, and you look up and down their lineup, and I love the word Rob used, anemic offense for the Nashville Predators couldn't be more accurate, because if they don't get a 4-goal game from Rocco Grimaldi, if they don't get Tanner Jeannot scoring a goal and chipping in here and there, you can't rely on Philip Forsberg and Tolvanen, just because Forsberg's just coming back from injury. Tolvanen he's a rookie. He's a first-year guy in the league that some people thought was going to get Calder consideration, which was hilarious to me. And their second line, if they're not clicking, they're not clicking. This team has so many win conditions compared to other teams in the 4 seed around the NHL that I do think if the Predators make the playoffs, they will be the weakest team in them for sure. And it's not even that they can remind me of the Los Angeles Kings team that made a run and had Jonathan Quick backstop them to a Stanley Cup. I don't see that, because that team had offense, that team had defense, and you can't rely on just Roman Josi to carry this team, because the rest of the defense has kind of looked invisible most nights. I mean, when you have Eric Goodbranson, you have Matt Benning, and you have Ben Harper as 3 of the mainstays in your defensive lineup, you might have a big problem there. The rest of the team, however, like, you go up and down the lineup, and for DFS purposes, I just stay away. Forsberg for shot props, I love. I can't put a minus 175 money line on my ticket to a team that's not Carolina, to a team that's not Colorado, to a team that's not Vegas, or even the Leafs for that matter. I can't do it, just because, like Rob was saying, sweating out the Predators is an activity that I don't recommend to anybody unless you want to lose weight real quick from sweating a ton. Like, giving up a natural hat trick to Emil Bemstrom in the third period is Nashville Predators hockey. That is what they do. They don't know how to hold a lead whatsoever. A 3-goal lead to them is just watch out. I won't be betting this game whatsoever except for Forsberg shot prop.
Yeah, he's 2.5 again, minus 149 at William Hill Sportsbook. He's got 7 shots in 2 games since returning to the lineup. He has played 18 minutes in both of those games. So he's coming off the goal and the assist. He had a power play point in the last game. So yeah, I like Forsberg. I think he's definitely in play. I think we hit that one on Monday. Yeah, I mean, you guys are spot on here. I messed up with some of the goal marks, but I thought it was interesting taking a look. I don't know why I took March 15th. It's right around the 6-week mark, but 1.64 goals for per 60 Columbus, which is the worst. And then Nashville, 1.64 goals again. So it's like identical numbers, but one team not scoring, the other one not allowing anything. And then Columbus at the same time have allowed the second most goals per 60 minutes at 5-5 over the last 6 weeks of the season too. But with all of that said, I am with you guys. It's hard to lay that kind of juice on the Preds. Even in putting in them parlays, I was hesitant to do so on Monday. But yeah, maybe just grab that Forsberg shot prop at 2.5. Let's go to Dallas and Tampa Bay. So Dallas had won 6 of 7, Rob. They were looking good, and then 4 straight losses. This team can't win in overtime, either 14 losses in overtime or a shootout this season. Sagan returned to the lineup in his last game. He had a goal in his debut. He hit the 2.5 shot prop. He's 2.5 minus 141. I don't mind it, even though it is against the Bolts. But Jason Robertson is another guy, just a better price, 2.5 at minus 105. That is at William Hill Sportsbook as well, the free prop shop over at ftnbets.com. So Tampa's won 5 of 6 in this series. The 6 games, 3 of them were shutouts. So Dallas has been a shutout 3 times against the Bolts, and they've only mustered 8 goals in 6 games against Tampa. And the Bolts overall 5 wins in their last 6. They're minus 152 at home. Dallas plus 132. This is a tough one too. Like it may just seem, Rob, like, oh, it's Tampa and, and we'll move on here. But I would imagine we're going to get the best possible effort from Dallas here as they're 4 points back from the Preds, one game in hand. They lose this, they're basically done, Rob.
Dallas is going to be one of my favorite bets here. And I'm actually thankful for the recent slide here because the price is way more attractive now than it would have been. Dallas was rolling there. They were playing great hockey in mid-April. You kind of thought, okay, this is the team that we expected from the Dallas Stars. Sagan's about to come back. It was looking great. And then they go out and put a losing streak on, and you're like, wait, what team is this? But then Sagan returns. He scores a goal. He played 17 minutes in his debut. Another guy that you want in your lineup for DFS. If you like shots, this guy's lethal in that stat category. So I do like Dallas tonight. I would go as to say that's a hammer job. I think when you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's going to be hard for them to get first in that division. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So the only thing they're really playing for is maybe home ice in round one at this point. Vasilevsky probably should not start a game to end the season here. So I don't think you're going to see that. They've been rolling pretty much everybody in the goaltender position, but Vasilevsky lately. Granted, they're a good team. They'll be in the game. It shouldn't be a total blowout, but I would take Dallas here just about any way you can get it. Any price point, I like it for Dallas. I would say they could probably cover a 1.5 point spread tonight too.
Yeah, I like them as well. I think we're just going to see, and they can play with, even though I rattled off the fact that they've been shut out 3 times, but those games against Vasilevsky, right? So you bring up a good point that Tampa's probably going to rest this guy. And Carolina with another win last night against the Blackhawks, it does look like that's their division. They got the 4-point lead on Florida. The Panthers only have 2 games left, and Carolina's got the 3 games left. So I think it's their division to lose. And yeah, I'm in on Dallas. Matt, what do you think about the Stars here? We get them at plus money. I think we're going to see a pretty strong effort from them. And I love the Sagan call. I mean, I like the 2.5 shots. I think this guy is obviously, he's just a huge addition back in the lineup.
This is literal do or die for the Dallas Stars. They have to win this game.
Gotta win.
The plus money on them here, I don't mind whatsoever. I'm looking around. We don't have a starting goaltender for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I am just praying that they put in Curtis, I'm the worst backup, McElhinney in net, because then I will be all aboard that line. And I think I'll bet this game early, because that's a risk I'm willing to take to get this line, because I do think the line will shift, not dramatically, but quite heavily if Vasilevsky starts. Or, I don't want to say that Gibson is better than McElhinney, but it feels that way. I just think if anybody not named Andre Vasilevsky starts tonight, I love this bet even more. Even if Vasilevsky starts, I won't be running to the booth to go bet this game, but I'll still probably have it as a few singles and maybe in some smaller parlays. It won't be a main cog, just because the Tampa Bay Lightning and Andre Vasilevsky could go, yeah, stop this now. I will just shut you out. Good night. But as a whole, I can't beat this horse any further. Curtis McElhinney's terrible, and I will bet against Curtis McElhinney any night of the week.
Dude, you are hard on McElhinney. He put some good years together with your Maple Leafs.
Yeah, he put some real great years together, and then he played Nashville, and Nashville went, I'll score 7 goals on you. And to me, I was like, if Nashville can score 7 goals on Curtis McElhinney, then watch out rest of the league. I can't put money on Curtis McElhinney whatsoever. I'm more confident putting money on Gibson than McElhinney.
Christopher Gibson, big game the other day over the weekend against the Detroit Red Wings. He had a big dub there. Yeah, we can move on from this, but I think Dallas is a sneaky little play here tonight. We seem to be all over him, all over them. Again, it's just it's fighting for your playoffs lives. Like, this is it. They got to win. They have to get a win here tonight, and they could get a break if there's no Vasilevsky in that. And yeah, maybe you want to wait it out, but I think we'll see Vasilevsky potentially on the bench or maybe just sitting in the press box. Like, they need a healthy, rested Andre Vasilevsky, even though they are the defending champs, and they'll be just fine. Okay, Montreal and Ottawa in here next. We have the Sens plus 140, the Habs minus 162, 23 and 28. We've been riding the Sens, Rob, all year long. There was a point in the season where Montreal was minus 300 favorites against Ottawa. We all kind of joked on this show that they shouldn't be 300 favorites against anybody, and that was when they were playing really good hockey. They have won 3 straight games. The Sens have wins in 6 of their past 8. Again, using natural stat trick since March 15th, 1.91 goals for per 60 for the Habs. That is the third worst mark in the league. 7 of the 9 games have gone under the number, and the Sens have taken 5 of the 9 in this matchup. Man, I kind of feel Ottawa here again tonight. I'll let you take this away, Rob. What do you think of those pesky Sens? And would you lay the juice here, Montreal, minus 162 on the road?
I don't like that price for the Habs. The Habs are in the same bucket to me as the Dallas Stars this season, the same bucket as the New York Rangers. As soon as you get high on this team and throw your cash on this team, you're disappointed the next day. It happens time and time again, and I'm getting sick of it. And I think from this Montreal team's perspective, I love what Suzuki's been doing lately. He was so cold in the middle of the season. He started great, then got cold. Now he's playing better. Toffoli, credit to him for keeping up the success for most of the season. That contract looks like an absolute steal. Cole Caulfield is going to give that lineup some juice that it needs. That being said, if the Ottawa Senators roll out Gustafsson, actually, you know what? I don't really care who's in goal for them. I think they're going to take this one tight. 3 of their past 4 games have been 1-goal hockey games. I love that from a betting perspective. At least give me a good game. At least let me know that my money is in it until the third period. I love that. And with a team like the Sens, DJ Smith deserves a lot of credit this season for at least keeping them in the conversation of a pesky team, which you mentioned. And I think a guy like Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, all these guys are playing so good. They've got great chemistry. I would have a hard time turning away from that plus number on the Sens.
Yeah, I have a hard time too. I like the under. I agree. I don't think it matters who's in net, but man, Gustafsson's been really good. He's been strong over the past week or so. And Matt, we joked around on Monday, the lame tweet that I had or whatever you said from the first overtime goal that Caulfield had. I was a little bit more excited with the second overtime goal that he had against your Leafs.
Even I was fired up. That was a nasty goal. Comes in flying off the bench. That's entertaining hockey to me, and that's whatever. Leafs are already locked up in the playoffs. It feels weird picking Ottawa without Cam on the show or without EY on the show. And I some part of me is don't do it, but it just feels right to do it. You look at the line and Montreal minus 162. I don't love it. I think if this line was around minus 150, then maybe I'd take it. But I just like the Sens there. I think there's value at plus 140. A Sens and Stars parlay might pay you well if you feel like being a little frisky tonight.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Suzuki 1.5. I agree. I can't explain the Suzuki thing. He's still fairly young. Rob, this is just a weird year. Last year's a rookie. He was good to start. And then he went through that moment as well. And then the break, the pause, he looked refreshed. He was awesome in the bubble. And then I think he started off with 10 points in his first 9 games and then a bit of a lull again. And then now much better. And Toffoli just came out yesterday and said just the confidence that he's playing with. He's more willing to shoot the puck lately. Well, I think some people were just seeing that he's going to pass off all the time. But it was a nice pass he made to Foley the other night. But he is more willing to shoot. We've been taking his shot prop here minus 140, 1.5, 2 shots on goal is one that I like a lot. And of course, Toffoli at 2.5 minus 145. But if I had to choose between one, because you can only choose one of these guys, you can't parlay them all together from the same game, it would be Suzuki. Just those 2 shots right around the same price, just get there. I like the Sens tonight. They've just played the Habs really well. Montreal has struggled against Ottawa. They beat them the other night, but they came from behind. It was a 2-0 victory, or it was a 2-0 game in the third period for the Sens. And then the Habs has kind of turned it on, but the Sens have just played them so good. I like the under. I think it's a trend that we can continue to attack there. So why not Ottawa and the under 5.5? You can get at 6. Maybe you can get that push. It's okay. Maybe it'll save you from an empty net goal or something like that. But I'm fine with under 5.5. So in here next, we got the Blues and the Ducks. So St. Louis heavy home favorites here, minus 245. The total here is 5.5, 20 and 30 against the spread for St. Louis. Anaheim plus 206, 30 and 23. So St. Louis has won 5 of the 7 in this matchup. There was a moment, I think, where everybody was really frustrated with the Blues when they played the Ducks. It was a 2-game set, and they lost both of those games. And I know Cam was on the show and was very frustrated with St. Louis. The under over the last 4 matchups between these two squads. St. Louis with the win on Monday, 3-1 against Anaheim. Anaheim's lost 12 of 17. So it's tough to I don't suggest anyone betting on Anaheim, and it's tough to lay that kind of juice on St. Louis, but to put them in a parlay or maybe to have them win by 2 goals is something that I could potentially get behind. But I think, Rob, for the most part, it is a stay away. But, I don't think the Blues will mess around here tonight. I think they get this win.
Yeah, I don't have much interest in betting this division outside of Vegas and Colorado, depending on the price point, which has been non-existent, for the past 3 months now almost. So really, I wouldn't go near this game. St. Louis should win, will win. Ryan O'Reilly's the guy that I zeroed in on tonight for my DFS lineup. I had him and Backstrom in a mock lineup. I just like what I've seen with Ryan O'Reilly. He's been the consistent guy all season long when they couldn't find anybody, to elevate their game, whether it was Robert Thomas, Kyrou cooled off at one point, but O'Reilly was the guy that kept everything together. Major credit deserves for him, not only in a betting lens, keeping them in some games, but I think a fantasy season long perspective too. He's been fantastic. So I would take Ryan O'Reilly tonight. Again, would never go at a minus 200 price for any team unless you're trying to, do an instant parlay with favorites to get your odds a little bit better there. But yeah, I like St. Louis, Chris. I'm more interested to see, who is going to get the first seed in that division, because I think St. Louis is going to be a tough team to play, honestly, if they stay in that 4th seed, which they will, in my opinion. And then they, with their history, I think they could upset anybody. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. Pierre LeBrun from The Athletic and, of course, TSN, he was talking on Monday how it was so important for Vegas or Colorado to win that West and then avoid Minnesota. But I'm thinking, man, you don't want to play the Blues either, right? Because they could just turn it on. Yeah. They're just not far removed from winning a Stanley Cup. You are spot on when it comes to Ryan O'Reilly. I wanted to bring him up as well from a DFS standpoint. He's got 10 points over his last 6 games. He's got 6 goals over that span. Yeah, when they won the Cup, Rob, and you know this, Matt knows this, people who followed along, when they won the Cup, they were one of the worst teams in the league at that one point, like right around January 7th when Binnington came and just took over the net. But the only consistent player throughout the whole year on that team was Ryan O'Reilly from start to finish. There was Tarasenko going through things. Shen was going through, Perron, like all these guys were going through something. And Ryan O'Reilly was the one guy who was just consistent, and he has been consistent for this team all year again. So there's been a lot of inconsistencies from everybody else and some injuries. Tarasenko in and out again. Shen, Schwartz was in and out of the lineup. You mentioned Kyrou. I think that was a great, this guy came on to the scene very strong this season, and he went through maybe like a Suzuki lull there as well. So I like the Blues. I can get behind them maybe, like I said, to win on the puck line, but they don't score a ton of goals, but the over has hit in 5 of their last 7 games. So they're scoring a little bit more. This next game here is difficult. We got Winnipeg and Calgary, man. Calgary's not out of it yet. They're still hanging around. Now they have 6 games left. They're 10 points back of the Habs and of the Jets. Winnipeg comes in having lost 7 straight hockey games. They've scored 1 or 0 goals in 5 of those 7 games. They have taken 5 of 8 against the Flames, but 5 of those games came in the first month of the season. Those two teams played a lot over the first month, but Calgary, 2 or fewer goals allowed in 8 of their last 10, but they're only 6-4 over that span. So they're the team that can't score goals as well. Really, both of these teams struggling. We got the Jets plus 105 on the road. Is this where the Jets break out of it? We've been betting against them, Rob. This game, I don't see a lot of offense happening.
Oh, I love the Jets tonight, and I'll buck the trend here. I think, it's funny when you look at this Winnipeg team and, when they lost all their defensemen in that one offseason, they managed to stay afloat, right? But now Nick Ehlers, one of their forwards, goes out and they can't buy a goal. And it's like, wait, why is this happening now when they've overcome so much adversity in the past? It really doesn't make sense when you think about it. Now, this Jets team 1 month ago was still in consideration to get first place in the division, and then they just fell flat. That is concerning from a betting lens. You never want to bet on a team, typically that has lost as many games in a row as the Jets have. That being said, I think they look at the standings now. They are right there 57 points in the division. Montreal's also got 57. That's why I wouldn't bet on the Senators game either, although I like the prices. Montreal is playing for that third seed. I don't think either one of these teams wants to play Toronto. I really do not. That's the one team in the division I think that is scary, that could even have another level in the playoffs. So if I'm the Jets, I think Paul Maurice is one of the best coaches in the league. He's going to get these guys to buy in tonight. I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is a player that we've been waiting for. We've been waiting to see a good 3 or 4 game stretch from him. I think that's a guy that I would take if you can fit him in a lineup at any place. But otherwise, this Jets team, you have to be careful. I wouldn't go all in on this game, but I think this is a great matchup for them tonight against an opponent who you mentioned just isn't that exciting. I mean, that's one of the bigger disappointments, I think, of the season is the Calgary Flames and just not having anything exciting, whether it's a defense, whether it's their forward position's been so dry this year. And then even Markstrom, I mean, this guy bailed out Vancouver 25 times at least last season. He's kind of doing that occasionally for the Flames, but not to the extent he was doing it for the Canucks. So I would not touch Calgary as a favorite. I would go up on Winnipeg. Just don't go crazy with it.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. The Jets are interesting on the road, plus money. I think that they have to turn this around. I agree with everything that you said too when it comes to just getting that third spot in the North. You don't want to play the Leafs. You obviously don't want to play McDavid or Draisaitl either, but the Oilers have more flaws. They're not as complete of a hockey team as the Toronto Maple Leafs. So to get that third spot would be key for one of those two teams. I wonder if this is it for Johnny Gaudreau, right? Wait, we've been making excuses for this Calgary team for a few years now. They get into the postseason. They were just manhandled by the Avs a couple years ago. They beat Winnipeg last year, right? But Scheifele went down early in that series, and I think they just played a depleted Jets team. I'm not a believer in this Flames team at all. Do you think that this is it for Johnny Gaudreau? Like, he doesn't even seem to get see eye to eye with Sutter. Like, Sutter's calling him out numerous times, and I think maybe he's going to get another opportunity here to coach this team from start to finish next year. Would you be shocked if Gaudreau is flipped in the offseason if he's done?
I think he's going to go to Philly. I think you're going to see a Konechny-Gaudreau swap, something like that, where the players just might not be fitting into their perfect ideal role as the coaches see it, as the front office sees it. I don't see it that way. I think Gaudreau is a much better player. He's got a higher gear. I just think Calgary overplayed their hand the past few seasons, thinking that this was an actual contender. It wasn't. They're good team. They should be a good team, but they didn't have near enough horses to win the race. So I think Calgary's got to be honest with themselves that the management has not done enough there to insulate players like Gaudreau, to give him the best possible lineup placement with the centers he needs to play with. And it's not a knock on Monahan. This guy's been battling wrist injuries the past 2 seasons. And as a center, that's not a great injury to be battling. So I think it's more of a system, like a systems type of thing for Gaudreau. But yeah, that when it's a systems problem, Chris, like it is with Laine and Columbus, I think those guys get moved. And that's when you end up losing a great player. And it never, ever works out well. So Calgary's going to be a team in the offseason that I'm tracking diligently.
Yeah, me too. Me too, big time. And I think if somebody gets Johnny Gaudreau, it'll be on a discount. Like it'll be a great buy. I think he's a great player too. Maybe it's just not a good fit. It doesn't seem to be a good fit with Sutter. That's for sure. There's no question about that. And you're right about Markstrom. He's been hit or miss, but when you're a Calgary team and you've allowed 2 or fewer goals in 8 of your last 10 games, you only have 6 wins to show for it. I mean, a lot of that is on the offense too. And it's just the style that they're playing. I mean, they're just playing a very, stay at home. Let's not make any mistakes. We'll get pucks in deep. You hear that crap all the time, and they just get in on the forecheck and they try to create their offense that way. But this is a team that doesn't get much from the rush. They're not very dangerous at all. I like the under. I don't think we're going to see any goals. I would expect to see Connor Hellebuck in between the pipes tonight. So I'm thinking maybe a 3-2 game or a low scoring game between these two teams. We've stayed away from Kyle Connor for a long time because he's been like minus 200 for 3 shots or 3.5. And I know he's been really quiet lately and not shooting the puck a ton, but I think this is an opportunity maybe to jump back on him on the shot prop. He's 2.5 shots at William Hill minus 149. That's a good price. That's a price we hammered for like 6 straight weeks when it came to Kyle Connor. So I think we can get back on board when it comes to him. Colorado and San Jose in here next. We have the Avs heavy Road favorites here, minus 278. This will probably push 300 here by midday. Plus 235 for San Jose at home. This is the fourth straight meeting between these two teams. Colorado has taken the first three, outscoring the Sharks 12-7. The Avs have taken 6 of 7 against San Jose. Grubauer has 3 shutouts against the Sharks this season. I don't know if he's going to get in there or not, give him a little bit of a break, but Colorado can probably smell blood here when it comes to the top of the division and getting that division. Their schedule is much easier than Vegas's down the stretch here. So to play Meaney or to play St. Louis, who would you rather? We kind of already had that debate, but I mean, Avs puck line, what do you do when you see Colorado like minus 300? Is it a stay away for you, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if you want an instant success, instant gratification, I mean, you could take that and appear to be a smart guy, a good better, but you're not getting anything for it. I think this is more of a DFS play at that, where you have to zero in on Mikko Rantanen. This guy, I mean, if he's in the lineup for the full season, he would have been in the Rocket Richard conversation. It's unbelievable how his game has evolved every season that he's played. He looks like a different player, a better player than the previous season. So despite what his price is in DFS, and he should be the most expensive wing in the contest outside of when Ovi plays, I mean, that is a player that you have to put in at any price point. Shots on goal over his past 3 games, I think he's got 13. I mean, you're getting your value almost right back on that alone, let alone his 3 multi-point games in a row against San Jose. I mean, this guy is feasting on the team. Chris, I don't care if he plays 12 or 13 minutes tonight. He's getting a goal or an assist. And Colorado, I mean, this is one of the teams you don't even need to know who's in net for them. You can bet it regardless. So, tough to say from the Sharks' perspective right now. I will highlight a hidden gem for them is Barabanov, who's skating on the top line right now for them alongside Tomas Hertl and Evander Kane. That's a guy I would have in my DFS lineup. The Sharks have scored some goals, 7 in their past 2, so they can put the puck in the back of the net right now. There's sneaky value in DFS, but yeah, I mean, you got to be looking at Colorado going, this is a lock.
Oh, man, Mikko Rantanen, you said it. We can't talk enough about this guy on the show. He's just been so good. He's got 41 points since March 3rd, and he's missed some time in there as well. So this is a guy that comes in. Yeah, you mentioned it. He's got the 13 shots, 7 points, 3 goals in the 3 games since he's returned to the lineup. He's got 59 points in 46 games. He's sitting there again, minus 161, 2.5 shots. This is the exact same price he had the other night. I told the FTN subs, put 2 units on it. Get him in parlays. 2.5 shots is just too low. Same thing with Nate. I mean, McKinnon is at 3.5 shots. I mean, this line just dominates absolutely everybody, but they've been dominating San Jose as well. They're going to be popular in DFS. It's kind of the same thing we always say. I don't understand Mikko Rantanen's price. I mean, he has just been underpriced all year long on DK, on FanDuel, wherever it is. I think he's been underpriced. And again, he's sitting there at 8.6. This guy was 7.3. He was 7.3 the other day when he played the Sharks, and he had 3 points and 27 fantasy points. So all systems go when it comes to this line. Matt, we'll bring you in here. You're a big puck line guy. Is the Avs puck line on your in your player pool tonight?
Yeah, I'll take the Avs puck line. And weirdly, the Avs puck line has burned me on most nights, but it just feels like they're too good of a team. And I'm just narrowing this down to whenever I take them, all this bad shit happens. But I'll just go after him here. I think, like Rob was saying, it doesn't matter what goalie they start. I just have so much confidence in that just forward unit, in their decor, that they could start Curtis McElhinney, and I'd be confident. But no, for seriously though, I'll take him on the puck line. This is one of the few teams on the puck line I'll be going after tonight.
Yeah, offense galore. Colorado or Vegas? Rob, who do you like more? Who do you think makes the deeper run?
I would have said Colorado up about until maybe 3 weeks ago. Now for me, it's Vegas. I just think this team is incredible. This year, especially, this 2-headed goalie monster thing has become a requirement all of a sudden. And I guess maybe I'm a jaded fantasy player because the schedule burned me a lot this season, the compressed schedule. You really had to tinker around with your lineup a lot more than in seasons past. But that really reflected well on Vegas with Robin Lehner, who wins every night now, and Marc-Andre Fleury, who wins every night now, regardless of the opponent. I think that is what's going to get them in a deeper run. Whether you have a little injury concern with one of those guys or whether they have 2 bad outings in a row, we've seen both play excellent in the postseason. Forget what they've done in the regular season. It won't matter when the playoffs start. You've got two guys in there that can keep you in a 2-goal hockey game no matter what. A low scoring game doesn't matter. Vegas has the offense too. Now, the only thing, Chris, I think you could counter with on Vegas is that they don't really have a premier center, but they've got wings in Pacioretty and Stone, who, by the way, Stone's been fantastic this season. I think it almost offsets it. It's not like Nashville where they really don't have centers. I mean, Chandler Stevenson has been kind of a diamond in the rough for them, but their wings are so good and so consistent. Even going down to their third line with Alex Tuck when he skates down there, you can't really pick apart too many flaws. Whereas you look at Colorado, they have a higher gear. I think this has been one of the better regular season teams dating back the past 10 years in terms of goal differential. But when you look at their concerns in net, if anything happened to Grubauer, they're getting bounced. And I just can't say from this season, I have the confidence to put any money on Colorado making a deep run. It's not that I don't think they're a great team. They're a tremendous team. If you guaranteed me Grubauer was healthy, it'd be a no-brainer. But I just can't make that after what we've seen all season.
Yeah, and it's not just this season with Grubauer too. It was last year, and there's been a lot of just weird injuries, and then COVID this year. When it comes to the Avs, last year they dealt with so many injuries, and I felt like it was just McKinnon just putting the team on his back. There was a lot of guys who were just in and out of the lineup, and the same sort of thing this year too. They've went through. There are moments where this team hasn't been fully healthy, but yeah, if there's no Grubauer, I'm with you, man. Like, no disrespect to Dubnyk, but there's just no way. They need a healthy Grubauer, and he's yet to show me, anyways, that he can even have a full season in the league. Remember when he took over with the Caps when they went on their run and they won the cup? Excuse me. You got to remember he started that playoff run for them. Who did they play in that? Was it Columbus? And they lost the first 2 games, and then Holtby went in, and then it was just lights out. It was Holtby the rest of the way. But for Grubauer, not a ton of playoff experience and not a ton of just showing us that he can be durable. I've always been Vegas. It always has been for me. I like this Avs team a lot. I think it does come down to both of these two teams. No disrespect to Meaney and St. Louis. Like I said, I think it is going to come down to Vegas and Colorado. That is my one concern as well. Down the middle, they played Alex Tuck the other night at center on the third line. That didn't last too long, but Chandler Stevenson has been great down the middle for them. I love the defense. Defense on both sides. It's a little bit younger. I think the Avs still have some, learning to do, but there's a lot of just playoff experience on the blue line when it comes to Vegas. Like Pietrangelo is such a huge addition and what he's going to be able to do in the playoffs. And Alec Martinez is a guy, I mean, he's got a Stanley Cup winning goal on his resume. So there's a lot of experience that I think Vegas has when it comes to both of those two teams. But back to the Avs for a second. We've been having some fun here with just 2-point props. It doesn't work like that all the time. Draisaitl and McDavid are absolute freaks, but it's worked out in both games against Canucks. They were plus money to have 2-point nights against Vancouver on Monday and on yesterday. Plus 100 for Nate, 2-point night, and plus 165 for Mikko Rantanen, 2-point night against the Sharks. All right, the final game, we don't even really need to spend too much time. I'm going to be honest, I'm not betting it. I'm not touching it. It's Arizona and LA. Got the Coyotes here, minus 132 at home. The Kings, plus 115. Arizona they were fighting, right? They were trying to get into the playoffs, and they were up on the Blues at one point, but they're 5 back here now. They've played 3 more games in St. Louis. I'm sure, again, we can throw out all the cliches. This is a must-win for Arizona. Maybe they get it, but Rob, not for me, man. I don't bet on teams like this.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I don't have much interest in this game, period, regardless if it's betting, if it's DFS. I mean, I'm a little checked out on these two teams. The positive spin I will put here on it, as we say, put a bow on it. 2 things. Number 1, Jacob Chychrun, since April 1st, he's tied for third among defensemen in points. He's got 8 goals in that 17-game span behind Cale Makar and Adam Fox. So we might be seeing a great defenseman emerging here from Arizona. Even without their forward talent, you could see their blue line really paying dividends, in seasons to come. The second thing I'm looking at in this game, Quentin Byfield for the Los Angeles Kings. This is a player that has looked good. He's passing the eye test so far in his little limited time. He's got 2 assists in his 4 games that he's played at the NHL level. I really like these rookies that are kind of making a late season push here. We're getting a little pre-scouting on them, ahead of next fantasy season. So So I'd keep an eye on those two players in the game, as a casual fan perspective. But, to circle back, I really have no interest in these two teams right now.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I thought Byfield picked up an assist the other night. They must have taken it away from him. I was watching the game. It looked like he won a draw, and then they scored on it. But I'm looking here at the game log, and he's got 0 points through 4. But he has looked good. The last game too, I was very impressed with him. But yeah, Arizona's lost 11 of 14. So the Kings are technically still alive. They're 9 points back with 6 to play. The Blues got 6 games left too, so they're not going to make the playoffs, but I just thought that was interesting. They're technically still alive. Yeah, Chychrun has been a beast, and I noticed that you've already come out with your top 10 way too early. It's never too early, right? It's never too early to do rankings. You didn't have him inside the top 10 for defense. How hard was that for you to leave him off? Because he has been an absolute beast. When we look at the board here tonight on DFS, and there's no other defenseman more expensive than him.
It wasn't hard at all. I mean, enter Roman Josi into the conversation here. You can be the best defenseman in the world. If you don't have forwards that can put the pucks in the net, you're not being selected at top 10 in position. You can go out and make that selection. You'll get nothing from it. I mean, what Chychrun's been able to do the past month is incredible. There's no taking that away from him. I think the player still has tremendous upside. He's a young player. When you look at the position in the league, it takes these guys a couple more seasons to get going now. He fits that bill. That's all well and good, Chris. But when I'm drafting a guy in fantasy, especially at that position, I need some forward talent. That's why Adam Fox is a no-brainer. That power play is going to be first in the league next season. That's why I would take Morgan Riley over a player like that, because I want the least power play exposure. You could enter, maybe Darnell Nurse, into that conversation as maybe I would, take Chychrun over him. But Darnell Nurse brings Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl exposure. I mean, that's where, the trickle-down effect in fantasy matters. And I love what I've seen from Chychrun, but it's not enough to put him in the top 10 among defensemen right now.
Yeah, it is. I love the Fox call as of right now. And it all depends on context, right? Like, what do you play with? If it's just like goals, assists, points, power play points, then a guy like Quinn Hughes has got a lot of value. But if you're including shots and hits and blocks, maybe he isn't even a top 20 defenseman in fantasy, which is weird for me to say, but it's just, again, it is all about context. But in leagues with goals, assists, points, shots, hits, and blocks, you got Adam Fox, defenseman number 1. So agree with you totally. That guy's an absolute stud. Hamilton 2, Hedman 3, Chychrun 4, Letang, Petrie, Nurse, Barry, Carlson, and Josi. And a surprise, Mackenzie Weegar. Crazy season for him. Wow. 113 hits, 80 blocks, 98 shots, 34 points, only 3 power play points. But that guy is a borderline top 10 fantasy hockey defenseman with those settings. Again, everybody plays in different settings, and that's always something you need to keep an eye on. If you're playing in those banger leagues like Eric Young loves to play in, of course, the Eric Young, you're going to be giving a boost to guys who block a lot of shots, throw their body around, and maybe take a trip or two to the penalty box. All right, let's recap and round out with just some DFS stuff here for tonight. So let's just, I'll throw to you first. Some of your stacks, I know you touched on Backstrom a little bit earlier. Some of your stacks, where do you think the goals come from here tonight? Like, who are some guys that you're spending up for?
Well, I would look at the Dallas Stars. I mean, I think this is a team, again, we've talked about it. They weren't playing well recently. That's fine. That's over now. I would look at, if you can get some Stars stacks tonight, I would look at that. When I look at Stars stacks, it has to be one of Klingberg or Heiskanen, though. I would not go too heavy on their forward. So if you like Pavelski for the power play goals, I love that. I would do Pavelski, either Klingberg or Heiskanen, pick your poison on the blue line there. And then I would also look at the St. Louis Blues for stacks. Again, this is my strategy just to, as an overarching thing. I like the lower ownership plays. When players aren't really going to be targeted too heavily, that's when I'm all in. So I would go back to Ryan O'Reilly on that for my center. And then I would take Justin Falk on the blue line, who, by the way, his price is tremendous. He's blocking shots. He's got 2 assists and 17 shots on goal in his past 4 games. So, forget all the goals and assists too. You need those extra categories in DFS. That's why I think Falk and O'Reilly makes a really valuable stack tonight as well.
Yeah, I love the O'Reilly call, and Falk is a guy that he was 4-8, wrote him up at ftndaily.com on Monday. Yeah, the minutes have been crazy for this guy, 29, 30, 27, and 25. And I think my exact wording was, okay, the shots and the blocks have been there. When you're playing half the game, like those counting stats are going to add up. Eventually, he's going to fall into some points and maybe some power play points. It's exactly what happened in the last game. And Matt, I just noticed that we missed Vegas and Minnesota. We just skipped over that game. Great host I am here tonight. Let's do it on the way out. We'll recap with that one. Mini plus 102 at home and Vegas minus 118 on the road. Man, Minnesota has been so good at home, and they just kind of have Vegas's number this season. They've won a handful of games against them. Rob, what do you think about this matchup on the way out?
Well, this is a game I always have a watch game for me, a game that I wouldn't take too much from DFS from, and I wouldn't put money on it. This is that game for me tonight because I want to see Minnesota deserves a lot of praise for what they've done this season. I want to see how they play towards the end of the season. Vegas, you could say, might have less to play for, but I think they want to get first in that division. I really do think they want that. So, and Minnesota, they deserve to be in the conversation with Colorado and Vegas. It might seem like those franchises are a year or two ahead of where Minnesota hopes to be, or even 3 years ahead at this point. But nonetheless, I think Minnesota has deserved some praise this year. Kirill Kaprizov has been tremendous. He'll win the Calder Trophy. Their defense, you can't say enough good things about these guys for the past 5 seasons now. They've stuck around, great chemistry on the blue line, but then also in net now. Cam Talbot has emerged, Chris, as one of these safe starters in the league, whether you're playing DFS. And what I've noticed about him too, his price is always a little bit lower than the premium upper echelon guys because, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to roll Cam Talbot out against Vegas. Well, why not? It's probably going to be a close game. They'll probably be down in it late, 10 minutes to go. And all you need is one big save from Talbot. He's delivered a bunch this season. So I do like that angle if you can get the right price for him in DFS. But otherwise, I just want to sit back and watch a potential playoff matchup here.
Yeah, we say that quite often, actually. It's one of those, we joke on this show that it's a no bet game. And then when Cam's on here, he freaks out and he doesn't understand what that means. He's like, no bet, you got to bet it. I mean, LA, Arizona betting it. There's no question about it. I agree with a lot of that. I think Vegas bounced back here tonight. I really do. We'll see on Pacioretty, if he is going to be able to return. I know he was a game time decision and he wasn't able to play. I think if I had to choose a side, it would be Vegas. But man, Cam Talbot, you are spot on, dude. This guy has been awesome all year. He was great to start. Then he missed a bunch of time with COVID. I know if anybody were able to pick him up, you may be playing for a fantasy hockey championship this week. He has been that good. From a shot prop standpoint, Kaprizov has hit in 8 straight games, so he's definitely on the card as well. And from a DFS standpoint, I don't think I have anything really to add. I like St. Louis. I like Colorado. I would just try to get creative, maybe with like lines 2 and 3 on those 2 teams. Both of them have the highest team applied total tonight, and then Washington in there as well. I think Washington and New York will be a fun game with a lot of offense. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I wouldn't pick Wilson. Maybe he scores, but he also may just sit in the box for a few minutes too. So that's something to keep an eye on. Backstrom, Mantha. Those are the two I think have a pretty good game. All right, Matt, you can give us some DFS thoughts and just kind of give us how Monday went.
For DFS, the usual suspects for me. I mean, I'll be going after all the top guys in Colorado and just shaping my lineup around value elsewhere. I'm probably not going to get cheeky and play a lot of GPPs tonight, but I'll be in on a few cash games. And like Rob said, Vegas Golden Knights, Minnesota Wild, that is my watch game of the night as well. I will be.
That's why I left it for the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. You just wanted us to have a game to talk about, a nice casual game. For your picks, 3 and 5 last week. Florida hit for you, Carolina hit for you, Boston puck line hit for you. Missed on Toronto. I bet you're not too upset about that. Colorado puck line also missed. Nashville under missed. Isles puck line missed. And the Pittsburgh money line missed as well. Brings your record to 142 and 105. Shot props, 5 and 1. Everyone hit except for Brian Rust, who I now have a bone to pick with. He is dead to me. I even went back to Barkov, and I got him there at 2.5. So did you. Matthews, Rantanen, Forsberg, and Kaprizov as well, who is just phenomenal, and I'm still waiting for that jersey to get in the mail. 76 and 49 for your shot props. What do you got for us?
I'll let Reese go first. Who are some of your favorite bets tonight? I know you like the Caps. I believe you were in on Dallas as well.
I would go heavy on Dallas tonight. I absolutely love that bet. I like the Senators' price, but I would not go as high on that just because I do like this Montreal team. I think that's one of the teams, if they end the season well, it's going to be a tough out no matter who they play in round one. So I would fade that a little bit. Again, the price is attractive, but not where I'm going. And I'm big on the Jets. So I would do Jets Stars tonight. Go big on it. Parlay it if you want. No matter what the price is, I think these two teams are almost guaranteed victories this evening.
Yeah, I like the direction that you're going here. And Matt, I was bummed. I had the Leafs on a bunch of parlays and they screwed me. And they should have won. The Habs are starting to get healthy again. They're starting to get a little bit more confidence. I don't know, man, but when I watched them play Calgary for those 4 games in a row, Rob, I just thought that they were the worst team ever assembled. Like they couldn't even get past center ice with the puck. It's just something I mean, a lot of credit to the Flames and I guess the way that they play hockey, but they just didn't like play with any speed. They weren't generating anything off the rush. So they're starting to play with a little bit more confidence, starting to get healthy. I'm not on them tonight though. I like the under between Montreal and Ottawa, 5.5. I like Dallas. I like Colorado on the puck line, St. Louis on the puck line. So Colorado puck line, St. Louis puck line, Montreal and Ottawa under 5.5. Washington and New York over 6. I think we're going to see some goals, even though they're missing some guys there. I think it's going to be a crazy game. Dallas and Winnipeg. So a couple, upsets, I suppose you can call them, but I don't think that they're real big upsets. But you are getting both of those teams on, plus money there. So I think from a parlay standpoint, like Colorado, St. Louis on a puck line, throw those in there. And then if you put Winnipeg and Dallas in there, that's going to be a solid turnout for sure. On the shot prop side of things, there's just so many ways to go. I'll just try to narrow it down to 5 of my favorites. Philip Forsberg, Mika Zibanejad, Mikko Rantanen, Kaprizov, and Sagan. We'll throw in Sagan there, but Toffoli, Robertson are in play. Kyle Connor's in play. But a parlay with just Mika, Forsberg, and Suzuki, 1.5. There's lots of different ways you can go here tonight. Plus money for Rantanen and McKinnon as well to have a 2-point night. Lots of action over at ftnbets.com. Guys, we're up to 135 units over there. We're going to be giving picks until that Stanley Cup is raised. Use the promo code Mayo, Meaney, whatever you want to do. Lots of action over at ftnbets.com. Rob, a pleasure, man. This has been fun. I'm glad to be able to return the favor. I know I jumped on your show. Check out NHL Fantasy on Ice. Give Rob a follow at NHL Reese. He is already putting together next season rankings, so he's taking care of you. You want to have a little plug there on some of the things that you guys are going to be doing here over the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure you're going to have some sort of playoff rankings as well over at NHL.com.
Yeah, so we have 2 massive podcasts previewing the playoff picture when it's all said and done. So keep an eye for those. The rankings, we had Pete Jensen's top 100 forwards release. Yesterday, we had the defenseman ranks that came out this morning. Look at those for next season. We'll have the goalies coming out tomorrow for next season, and then a full overall comprehensive top 250 for next season. You may think we're crazy, Chris, but we're looking ahead. We're trying to forecast, some of these late season risers and how they'll fit into the landscape next year. So a lot of good stuff coming from us. Same with you. We'll be looking at your content here into the playoffs as well. And good luck with all your bets, gentlemen.
Yes. Thanks for taking the time, man. I don't think you're crazy at all. I love it. You guys are killing it over there at NHL.com. So check out all the work there. You can never be too prepared, right? You got to turn the page and start looking at maybe your dynasty squads or keeper league squads as well. So from Rob Reese, myself, Chris Meaney, and Maddie Best producing the show, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us. A little long, but a lot of games here to get to. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment there in the YouTube section, and we will be back on Friday. Cheers.